Greetings, gamers! Welcome to part number 57 of my Let's Play Fire Emblem 9 Path of Radiance. It's likely that even if I were to complete this chapter in this part, this is not the final part, as the epilogue does exist. Though even if His Majesty desires it not, I will remain and protect him. I cannot allow the legacy of Dayan to end here. Tell me, Bryce. You were my father's retainer, were you not? From the 15th year of my life, and for 20 more years until his death, I did serve him faithfully. The thing that killed my father was not a plague, nor was it another illness. It was me. What? Oh, but it doesn't end there. There was my stepmother, too, and every brother who stood to be a legitimate heir. All of them died by my hand. Are you still determined to protect me, knowing this truth? I am. Even knowing now as I do, you are still your father's son. The blood of Dayan's kings flows in you. You are all that remains. By your leave. Such loyalty to a corpse. In truth, there is nothing in this world more humorous than a knight. Such loyalty to a corpse. Interesting words to use. Crimea Castle, yet again. Hey, look out!
Is that...
Elincia, what are you doing? Get back!
Ashnard?
What did you say? That is the King of Dayan? It's been quite a long time, Princess Crimea. You look quite different than you did the day that I cut your father and mother down like cattle. I can hardly believe you're the same little girl who did nothing but tremble and stare at me.
You craven, I've returned to see you defeated. I will no longer allow you to treat Crimea any way you please.
How brave and noble of you. However, you are not the one I seek. And then he uses smite. Elincia. Are you the one they claim is the son of Gawain? King Ashnard of Dayan, your treachery dies on my blade. Oh, I see that blade in your hand. It is a sacred blade, is it not? The only type of blade that can pierce my armor. It matters not how famous the blade if the wielder lacks skill. The greatest sword is nothing but blunted steel. Don't worry, you will see for yourself how blunt it is. I expect good things from you, son of Gawain. What you see before you are my elite hand-picked soldiers. How will you deal with them? I'm looking forward to watching you. Don't disappoint. Hold! Yes, he's going to listen to you. Hold. Any of you whose arms remember what it is like to battle, step forth. I would take of your strength now. Alright. His cute little speech. Of course, I'm not going to be bringing anyone who is not useful, to say the least. And I have to kind of fortify my lines here. So the thing with this chapter, which is I find very interesting, is that... Okay, I'm going to put you here. And then you can go here. And you can switch with you. So what I find very interesting about this chapter is that it is, I would say, easier on difficult mode concerning the enemies you have to fight. Because on the actual hard mode of this game, Ashnard, the king, 35 strength, 16 magic, 27 skill, 27 speed, 0 luck, 35 defense, 26 resistance, 60 HP. He has a 20 might, 90 hit sword, weight 25, 1-2 range. This man is incredible with 10 movement, renewal, which restores a set number of HP per turn, which is going to be 6. And Daunt decreases hit and critical hit percentages of all enemies within 3 spaces. I believe this is only by 5 apiece. Ashnard has an incredible amount of range. At some point in this chapter, and I do believe it's turn 10, he flies down and says, "I've had enough of waiting for you to come to him." So what I typically do is I turtle up for the 10 turns, fight off any of the enemies that approach me, and I usually fight them off down here. And then I have Ike go right about here so that he can deal with Ashnard from a distance, which is just the best thing to do. This is Bryce, basically a secondary boss in this chapter. He comes with a speed wing that he drops. You cannot get the Wishblade, unfortunately. It was my false impression that you could, and it was because I was thinking about the trial maps. So interestingly enough, this game has trial maps, and if you beat the game so many times, you can basically recruit in the trial maps certain of the bosses: Oliver, Shiharam, Patrine, Bryce, and Ashnard, and all of them happen to be at their best except for Ashnard. Ashnard shows up in this form, and yes, this isn't his best. There's some twists and turns about that one. So the best light magic in this game is also here in this chapter, Rexora. You cannot get this without some shenanigans, and it is my firm understanding, this is one of the reasons why Ashnard is not surrounded by a group of allies here. Ashnard moves when you move into his range. So even if it's before turn 10, you don't necessarily want to do that. So Bryce is just barely outside the range of Ashnard himself. So you could technically fight Bryce and get that speed wing before you end up fighting Ashnard, but it's kind of a tough task. I actually think I want to do this, and specifically because of one unit that I'm going to be recruiting in this chapter, whom, if he had, I do believe he is capable of doubling Ashnard. Now, I'm not 100% certain of this, and if it's not the case, it will be basically for naught anyway. Well, and also, otherwise, I wouldn't mind if I was able to use that speed wing for Nazir, I suppose, because I do believe Ashnard, upon the secret event I'm about to say, he does increase in speed. With that, however, it is time to get the ball rolling in this chapter. Are you nervous?
Yes, and you, my Lord Ike?
No, I'm actually pretty calm, in a strange way. Now that we're finally here, I can focus on defeating King Dayan. Nothing else seems to matter.
I wonder if we shall win.
We will win. I didn't come this far to lose. You've come all this way as well, so believe in yourself.
You're right.
So right now in my party, I only have 2 people who can damage Ashnard. That's Ike and Nazir. The problem with Nazir is that he actually does 0 damage unless he's transformed. And if he's transformed, he only does 5 damage. So I don't really think that I'm going to be using Nazir for this at all, even if I wanted to. Just because it's like, what's even the point at that point, right? He's going to be doing next to no damage whatsoever. So it is time to build my defensive line. Whilst I am building my defensive line, Ike is going to get moving and start fighting the units up here, because I do think it would probably be a good idea to get that speed wing from Bryce. I don't know if he moves. So here's the thing. If Bryce doesn't move, this is basically for naught. Because it would be nice if he had the ability to... Oh, I was almost thinking like, oh wait, this is going to give me a boost to my magic. No, this isn't Thracia. Oh yeah, unfortunate. But yeah, I just want to build my defensive line, and then hopefully that item is something I can obtain, and then afterwards, you know, everything will be all gravy. And I think that will be my turn. Yeah, your bolting wasn't going to do much to Alencia, one of my most resistive units in my entire party. Alright, Mr. Feral One. Very unfortunate he has a Javelin equipped. Not sure why Mr. Har has a Javelin equipped on him right now. Alright, fulfilled. Do your job. And it is doing its job. Nice. Most of the units in this chapter do not move. It's only the units that are like immediately next to your units, as well as ones that you get within attacking range of. Alright. Would be nice if Ike KO'd at least one of these guys. Oh, perfect. Very nice. And you even get to see Aether, which we're going to see it anyway, because I'm halfway minded that Aether is scripted on Ashnard as well. Yeah, so this is going to seem like a lot, but because of my positioning, most of the enemies are going to come down into... Ooh. Is Bryce going to move too? Most of the enemies are going to come down into the bottom portion. And I was a bit wrong, so more of these enemies are actually moving. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be able to defend perfectly well. And then this tiger is gone. Very nice, very nice. I think it would probably be for the best if I were to put you here. Yeah, I think so. And then attack with the Brave Bow. Not doing very much damage, unfortunately, but it would be nice if, well... Ah, he didn't crit. Okay. Alencia. One thing I absolutely want to do here. Make sure that all of my units are pure watered up. I probably should have done this last turn, but it's a-okay. I'm going to hammer the Ashira staff right away. Charade. Sonic Sword. I'm going to use the Rune Sword right here. Physic up Har, of course. Nazir can do just a little bit of damage to you. Perfect. And I think this, yeah, you are doing next to nothing. You would almost think that a breath weapon, like a fire-breathing breath weapon, would have 1-2 range. Come on, dragons. You can do better than this. I know you can. Alright. So everybody who's not taking immediate combat in this turn is definitely going to Pure Water up. Which does remind me, I need to equip the Steel Lance here. I'm going to Pure Water with you. You're going to sit and wait while I strike this tiger down with Rex Bolt. And yes, a bolt from on high. I do love Rex Bolt's animation in this game, though I do think that Radiant Dawn definitely did the animations for Magix a whole lot cooler than this game, but that's just particularly because, well, it's a newer game all in all. It makes sense that it would be better. Alright, I'm going to be putting you, obviously, back where you were. And I could Physic Nazir, but I think that that's super moot. Nice. Very quaint. You actually did some damage to Tyronio. And yes, a dragon is attacking Ike. I'm telling you, that absolutely amazing Legu's Guard. I love the Legu's Guards. They just make a lot of sense, in the sense that, like, to use on somebody like Ike, because he needs all the defense he can get, concerning he's going to be the main attacker dealing with all these dragons and such. Ooh, a Legu Slayer. They actually did some pretty significant damage to Nasir there. So what I think I'm going to do next turn is I'm actually going to unequip the Demiband and you equip the Bjork Guard, which I probably should have done already, and use the Legu Stone. I thought about it, and I really just do not think that it's a good idea to fight Ashnar with anybody other than Ike. Even the unit that I'm going to be bringing in is likely going to be more of a detriment than a help to Ike's cause, and the reason why that is because of a very unfortunate fact of the matter that the unit that I'm going to be recruiting does not have 1-2 range. Yeah, you attacked the wrong unit there. The wrong unit. Titania is too much for you. Yeah, Tyronio can pretty much handle all of these enemies that are going to come down here and fight with, well, in the circle, that is. I have a very limited amount of turns to deal with all of these units, too, because once Ashnard comes down, it is a terror to behold, to say the least. I'm going to equip the endowment. Use that. Very nice. And then I'm going to equip and use longbow. Definitely going to have to replace this in Shinon's inventory. So probably the most diabolical enemies on this map are all of the enemies that have Kanto, and it's pretty darn obvious to see why that would be. Okay, let's equip the silver bow. I actually have a lot of people to heal right now. So you want to take care of all the units that have Kanto as to the best of your abilities as soon as you possibly can. And then I think I'm pretty well set here. Would be nice if Tyronia were to take enough damage to get to resolve very quickly here, but I'm having my sincere doubts. Nice. Very nice. So what I think I'm going to do here is use some of my units to take out the units on the right, because there's just too many. And what's going to happen here, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen, is that you're going to see my units completely overwhelmed very quickly. And I don't necessarily want that to happen. So I'm going to take out you with the Silver Sword, Hav, and Stefan. Then I'm going to use all the rest of my units to go over to the right and defeat as many of these generals and whatnot as possible. Get them over with, and so I have less to deal with. Ike also has to be up as far as possible, too. Wow, she is just so strong. And here comes the Rune Sword. Goodbye, friend. It's interesting how much the games have flip-flopped between the Rune Sword as well as Nosferatu tomes being either light or dark magic. I always have found that to be interesting. Like, what's the purpose? Why does it have to flip-flop exactly? And Alencia with her good old Sonic Sword, she's going to come in handy with such a weapon. throughout these turns, having to deal with all of these enemies. So you do definitely want to make sure that Ike is within the reach of good old Ashnard, and only Ike is within the reach, because obviously otherwise there's going to be problems. Alright, so I'm going to definitely chant for one of you. Titania is doing a great job here with her Silver Axe. I need to KO that killer bow user, because even though he doesn't have any effectiveness against Alencia, because she is wielding the full guard, I still want him to go because, you know, a killer weapon. And who should it be? I think you should be able to stand up to the task. And Rex Bolt slung your way. Very nice, very nice. He's going to KO this killer bow user, and then I'll have that much less units to deal with in the back. This is basically going to be an Ike solo for the most part. He is definitely going to be doing way more of the defeating of enemies than pretty much any of my other units, just because it makes sense. Ike is my strongest, as well as the only one who has reliable, unbreakable 1-2 range. And yeah, that's perfect in my humble opinion. My estimation of that is one of admiration. I think I'm going to stay right here, though. Finish off this dragon, and then just allow the chips to fall where they may. Ike has a lot of enemies he has to deal with over the coming turns, and I need to wear them down as quickly as possible so that my back line isn't immediately threatened. And this is going to do a hilariously small amount of damage, even if it hit, because I just used a pure water. Nice. Alright. Tyronio, you've got this with a good old endowment. Ooh, come on, just a little bit more damage and he would have been resolved up. Hopefully this guy hits and does some damage. That would be very nice. I have my doubts, though. Yeah. Why that is pretty obvious. The brave swords, the brave weapons in this game just are not that good. Nice, very nice. Just barely put him within the ability to use his resolve to the fullest. Now, I have a feeling that more units are going to attack Ike because of this, which doesn't particularly matter. Ike is more than capable of dealing with pretty much the rest of this game, including Ashnard and his burly self. Alright, a Night Killer, huh? I think those kind of look strange in this game because they're basically supposed to look like jousting weapons. I don't really know that that would be all that effective. I understand the point of it. You know, you'd want to basically spear a knight so that you take him off the horse kind of thing. Which, you know, it makes sense. I'm not going to say that it doesn't make sense. It's just kind of an odd design for a weapon. That's kind of the problem, though, is a lot of the designs for most of the weapons in, like, the Tellius games and beyond do not really make all that sense. Like, you've got the Armor Slayers and FE13 and FE14 look absolutely abysmal. Very nice. Good job, Tyronio. Good job. Fantastic, even. And then the more anime that Fire Emblem becomes, the less realistic the weapons look, and the less believable, the less notably good that the design is, so on and so forth. I'm not just trying to pick on those games, but it is in my humble opinion, the truth of the matter. So if Ike had Resolve, I'm going to tell you something right now. Ike with Resolve and either Adept or Wrath or Vantage, whatever combo you want to do with Resolve, and usually I always give Ike Miracle, regardless of what I give him, because he has the capacity for it, A, and Miracle just means that he can survive those lethal hits when they're unexpected. So with Resolve, I'm going to be very honest with you. Ashnard in this chapter is a complete joke. Though I do believe he's one of the more formidable final bosses in Fire Emblem. He's nowhere near as difficult as fighting, for instance, the bosses in... Okay, gotta make sure that these guys cannot reach anybody of import. He's just nowhere near the difficulty of, like, the final chapter of... Alright, we're gonna put you here. The final chapter of something along the nature of... I'm gonna heal Stefan. Thracia. Thracia is a way more difficult game. And it's not just because I'm picking on Radiant Dawn or Path of Radiance or any of these games particularly. It's just kind of the truth. Alright, I'll put you here. And it looks like I have to put you here so that he doesn't come into the way. I am going to heal Alencia, even though, yes, she does have Resolve. And, yes, I haven't really gotten any function out of it. The problem is you just really want to be careful with her in this particular chapter. Okay, the endowment is doing its job. I'm actually going to chant for Tyronio again. I just think it makes the most sense. He is pretty well, because of Resolve, my best unit right now. Better than Ike, better than the unit that's going to join, the best unit in the game. And it's just because of Resolve. So if I were to have given Ike Resolve, you know that I would be saying that he would be the best. It's just more or less that I wanted to give Ike... Oh, wow. Advantage. I forgot that some of these units do actually have skills. Pretty nice, though. I wanted to show off Aether, because in my last playthrough, I didn't do that. Showing off Aether is a very good thing, in my humble opinion. Now, Tyronio is most likely going to get attacked by both the Wyvern Lords that flew down here, which would be fantastic. I am hoping, praying that that happens. Because even though Ike would defeat them, well, I actually don't think it matters. I think Ike would defeat them. They just waste time otherwise. I've also set my party up in such a way that it would be impossible for them to fly in. And if I really, truly wanted to, I could have moved Tyronio down a couple of spaces if it was needful. And that would allow Tyronio to block anyway, because the flying units can't fly over your units. A lot of people don't think this makes sense. And I've brought this up before, but I think it makes sense for the sake of not allowing flying units to be too powerful. Could you imagine if flying units in Fire Emblem, who are already some of the best units, bar none, just had the capacity to fly over your walls of units or didn't care about any of that? They already ignore terrain. There is no reason for them to have such an ability. None whatsoever. So that paladin there that Ike just dealt with had Nihil. That's incredible. Very interesting. Yep, you're not getting a crit, unfortunately for you. It'd be the only way you'd do reasonable damage to Ike. But unfortunately, also, he just took you out. Ah, a Rune Sword Swordsmaster. Goodbye. Try again. I should have showed off more of the enemies in the beginning of this chapter, because on difficult mode, a lot of them have some very cool skills and whatnot. Very cool weaponry, stat distributions. This is probably the coolest chapter in this game just because of that. Oh yeah, Tyronio's not getting outsped or doubled or not doubling anybody. For the sake of it, I guess I could show off some of it right now, but it's not going to be all that particularly useful, especially because most of the units that had skills to speak of, like for instance, Bryce has Guard and Daunt, which is nice. Yeah, most of the units to speak of were already defeated. Like for instance, I'm almost 100% certain that the last unit that Tyronio just took care of happened to have been alright, so should I bolting you? Happen to have been the one who has, or Thora, well, doesn't double with either. The one with Astra. So, one of the Swords Masters in this has Astra. There's some Paladins and whatnot with Nihil. There's folks with, like, Guard and other skills like that, and it's really cool. I'm pretty sure even some of the Swords Masters in the beginning had stuff like Adept. Unfortunate that I didn't show it off. I am fully well aware of this. It would have been cool to show it off, but just, you know, on difficult mode, they did decide to give more of the units more interesting things. I actually love this. I wish more enemies throughout the game had skills. Not every single one, mind you, but more of them did. Alright, so yeah, he has a Fortify, which he can use against, or on somebody like Bryce or Ashnard, and you definitely don't want that. I don't believe he moves, which is good. And then Ashnard is, you know, he's quite a bit away. I have pretty well done what I wanted to do in the sense that I have routed most of the enemies around, and there's not very many reinforcements in this chapter. If I'm not mistaken, I don't actually think there's even any. Look at those beautiful statistics. Now, if he had that 20 might weapon equipped, 59 attack. Wow. Almost 60 attack there. Imagine if he had gotten his maximum strength, which I'm pretty sure is either 28 or 29 is the maximum strength for generals in this game. That would be crazy impressive. But with that being said, I want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please upvote and follow, or like and subscribe as I have to end this episode. While you're at it, have a great and glorious day gaming.